Welcome back to Improvision Entertainment. My name is Hunterman, and this is going to be more of Euro Truck Simulator 2. We're going to be trying something a little bit different in this sitting, in which I'm going to be listening to the news, which might be a little bit loud. So trigger warning for the news, just like for all time, because Roe v. Wade has been taken down, and as a result, it is likely to be talked about. And if you don't want to hear some bad things, let me turn this down a little bit. You should be able to still hear me over the news, but like if you're watching along.
Welcome everyone to the Young Turks. Both Jenk and Anna are out, but hey, we're here. I'm John Idarola. Much more importantly, Jessica Burbank. How's it going?
More importantly, John.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. It's hard to have much self-esteem in 2022. Plus, I'm
so that's happening.
That's a big drag.
We're continuing on the journey.
You're pretty cool.
I have to pull out into traffic.
What have you been up to recently?
What have I been up to recently? A lot of hosting on the Young Turks, man. It's a great place to be. Yeah.
All over. And in fact, in the not too distant future, you're actually going to be leading some episodes of The Damage Report. How exciting.
That is true. I feel like a godmother that's been bestowed a life to take care of in your absence.
Exactly. No, I'm very excited. I think that
weird that cop isn't hitting me with anything.
So everybody stay tuned for that.
Train is somewhere nearby.
Over the course of this episode, you have a lot to stay tuned for as well. I'll be doing this for the first hour. Jessica will be taking over for the second. And of course, we have a bonus episode coming up after that.
I don't know how this recording is going to work, so we'll see how it works out. But
climate change. Did you know much of
there you go, talking about reproductive rights. So yeah, trigger warning for the news. Just putting that out there.
Dunderheads about that. And oh, Dr. Oz looking like a fool. So lots to look forward to, everyone.
Lots to look forward to.
That said, though, Jessica, you ready to jump into our first topic?
Let's do it.
Okay, we in fact will. The doctor who provided an abortion for a 10-year-old rape victim is now suing the Attorney General of Indiana for defaming her and her reputation. As Todd Rokita had, as the story was coming out, immediately began attempting to downplay, implying that facts of the story were wrong, or to the extent that they were right, that the doctor was the person we should be angry at. Take a look at an appearance he had on Fox News.
Then we have this abortion activist acting as a doctor with a history of failing to report. So we're gathering the information, we're gathering the evidence as we speak.
That's right, that wasn't true.
And we're going to fight this to the end, including looking at her licensure. If she failed to report, and in Indiana, it's a crime to not report, to intentionally not report.
Okay, so look, there's obviously a lot of issues with that video. The fact that the Attorney General finds out that this horrific act has happened, that it is compounded by the fact that the law there in Ohio is incredibly barbaric. The thing he's fired up about is supposedly issues with this doctor's reporting of facts about the case, about the timeline. That's the thing that he thinks needs to be investigated, not the actual crime itself, which created this situation, not the legislative action.
I was just about to speed up, but I need to actually slow down.
Far worse, that necessitated the 10-year-old rape victim having to flee across state lines. Just the doctor. And of course, it's even worse because he's not even right about the things he's attempting to distract you with. Just the next day, health officials in Indiana released a document contradicting Rokita's claim, which you saw there on Fox News, demonstrating that Caitlin Bernard, who's the doctor in this case, had reported the procedure on the 2nd of July. In that report, she said she'd provided a medication abortion to a 10-year-old abuse victim on June 30th, who was approximately 6 weeks pregnant. Indiana University Health, which employs the doctor, has also said it conducted a review and determined she had not violated any privacy laws. And so he immediately began defaming her, implying not only that she had...
You gonna let me go by or gonna pull over?
In this case, but that she had some sort of history of this, and so thus the lawsuit.
Yep.
In fact, her attorney sent a letter to him saying her client had suffered harm.
I don't know what the procedure on the right-of-way is, but since they were moving in so slowly, I thought I was supposed to go past them.
Statements that Dr. Bernard has a history
Teach me.
of failing to report, which Mr. Rokita indicated would constitute a crime, made in the absence of reasonable investigation, or any investigation whatsoever, let's be clear, serve no legitimate law enforcement purpose.
Buchin.
Given the current political atmosphere in the United States, Mr. Rokita's comments were intended to heighten public condemnation of Dr. Bernard, who legally provided legitimate medical care. The lawyer saying intended there, of course, is that's what they think. And it seems like the clearest thing in the world, Jessica, that they were attempting to
So
get people
if I
angry
got
at
that,
this
the
but also
doctor is
that
suing
was
back
a
for
tool of the
defamation, which
larger
sounds
effort
good.
to have people not think about the fact that a 10-year-old was forced to flee a state to deal with the product of the rape she had suffered, but that you should be angry about this doctor instead for some sort of bureaucratic thing.
Right, absolutely. And this case is not unique. It's not like this anomaly that happened at a time when it was convenient for the left to take this story and talk about it and make the case for why abortion is a necessary right.
How did I pass the same train twice? It's so loud.
Make it seem that way, but in Ohio, on average, someone under the age of 15, children have had abortions, 52 in a year, so 1 per week. That's a lot. This is something that occurs really frequently. They should do something to address that rather than criminalizing the doctor. It's absolutely insane the misfocus here. If they actually cared about children, if they actually cared about the right to life or the right to good quality life or the life after it's been born, they would care a lot about those children. But of course, they're focusing the conversation on the doctor.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm glad that you cited that statistic too, that, we are probably averaging about 1 case like this per week. Now, of course, it's been more than a week since this story came out. And, I get that the national...
No, it's just a lot of lights.
...going to track down every story like this in the same way that they're not going to focus on every mass shooting. America is a country...
I feel like there are roads over there to the side that I should go down to get locations.
Far too often for it to be possible for them to. And yet I have to wonder, who is the, on average, one person who has had to deal with a situation like this? Because we can't forget that...
I wonder if this game was running in not DirectX mode before, because
this could have happened in, a couple dozen
so
states,
far
probably.
tonight, it's been running really
It could
smooth.
still
I'm
happen.
thinking about upping the graphical
horror that we
fidelity.
should feel coming out of this case, what was revealed by this tragedy, hasn't yet changed.
Nice water.
anything. It's still just as possible for it to happen. The only thing that's likely to have changed is the right might be a little bit less inclined to try to pretend that the story didn't exist. I believe that they're probably far more likely at this point to not engage with it at all. Like, I don't think that they're going to even pick this up. They tried to do their thing on Fox where they made it about something else, and once the facts came out, they pivoted to talking about, undocumented migration. But I think in the future, they're just not going to engage with this because they know it's not a topic that they can win on. If people are thinking about the reality of the reproductive rights situation in these states, it's never going to look good for them.
Right. Yeah, it's not going to look good for
Yeah,
them.
I took
But
that
also,
roundabout
if
really
you're
wrong.
the type of person who's defaming someone on national television, it's a great thing that this doctor is doing. I think doctors that perform abortion should be more litigious in times like these when people are saying terrible things about them on television, because
I would agree
the
with that.
settlement oftentimes in defamation lawsuits is money, and the one thing members on the right care about, especially the grifters that go on, mainstream media from the right care about, is money. This is the way you get at them. This is the way you make sure this doesn't happen again.
Yeah. And can we put up that B-roll that we just had up for a second? Because I think there's a part of this that isn't yet a part of the story, but I would love for it to become a part if we could throw that up. You see Todd Rokita there, but you also see Jesse Waters. Jesse Waters was all over this thing. Like, sure, other people at Fox, the Laura
God damn it.
stuff like that, they did try to fool you into thinking that this horror hadn't happened. That it hadn't been made worse by choices made by
I didn't even see that cop,
Republican men.
and I
But Jesse Waters was there.
I'm so out of practice.
Now, maybe he was a bit more careful with his language.
Clearly, I don't need to
Maybe
be
he didn't
making the
make
game any more
specific
difficult
claims
because
about
I'm
that
already having trouble
timely
just
reporting like
existing.
Todd Rokita did. But he definitely attempted to convince people that this story hadn't happened, that it's not something you should worry about, that it was all being cooked up by abortion activists or whatever. And of course, it's at a time when Fox News is already facing multiple defamation lawsuits, generally from corporations that were involved in the 2020 election. One would think they'd be a little bit more careful about that. As of right now, Jesse Waters isn't facing any sort of lawsuits or anything like that. As I said, maybe he's been more careful, but
Was that
he
keep
was
left?
just
I think it
as
was.
eager as Todd
Lane
Rokita
mathematics.
to, misinform
One
his
lane goes to the right,
intentionally
one
about
lane goes
using for his
straight.
own political ends.
Then another
and
lane
one
comes in
of
and
the-
makes it two
the
lanes again, I
congressional
think.
Testimony from that anti-abortion activist, where she said, well, in this case, it actually wouldn't be an abortion. The attorney general said in this case it was justified, but then he's on Fox News bashing the doctor. The right is really falling apart around this issue, where there are so many cases where they see it's very clear that there's a reason why abortion is, a medical procedure that is necessary and worth protecting, and they just can't defend themselves. They're absolutely falling apart. It's insane to watch.
Yeah, and
Okay,
that
so once
one of the
again,
most telling
speed limit
bits of
100,
video that, like, if it's
but
justified, okay, you
I don't
can
think the
do
game
it,
will
but
let me
it's
go
no
that
longer an
fast.
abortion. But that just means they don't want to admit that they support abortions in some cases. That's it. The procedure's the same. It of course has the same name. It's such a weird, like, people reveal themselves. They reveal their thought process when you press them, and they definitely did that. They know that their position isn't popular. Sure, it's popular amongst Fox News viewers, on the right, Republican primary bases, but if they could have won this by convincing people, they would have done that. They wouldn't have set up a multi-decade scheme to pack the judiciary with
I mean, that's true.
Christian nationalist zealots. They know that nobody actually agrees, or certainly not enough to formulate a majority.
You have any comment on the
And
news?
so anyway, look,
Like, I'm only
I
got the
think
news
the
playing
Democrats
because
plan to talk
I mean,
about
I
this a
I need
lot.
something
Now,
to
they
distract
do
myself.
want
Otherwise,
to
I'm
make
just
sure that
talking to
people
the
have it
air.
on their mind in advance of the midterm.
And the
That
music is
bothers
one
me
thing, but like,
deeply, because I think that if you are going to sell
I'm interested in
yourself as
staying
being
up
a
on the day's
passionate
topics, and if
defender
I
of
can
a
do
set of
two
rights,
things at one
you should
time,
also be defending
play a
those
little
rights
Euro
without
Truck
just
and
whining about
get some
it.
news in, I'm
But
gonna do that.
I think
Especially
it's
if the
unfair
frame
on
rate seems to hold
campaign
up, which it
strategy.
seems like it's
And
going
it's gonna
to.
be interesting to see
Even
going
though there's a
forward
little,
how
you can kind
how
of
the
see the
right
little
is gonna
picture-in-picture
deal with
next
this.
to
I mean,
me.
we had the story coming out of Texas of the woman who was forced to carry the
I have
fetus
just
for 2
lost the
weeks.
hang of staying in
Like,
my
when you
lane,
set up
of
an
not smacking
absolutely
things.
inhumane legal structure, as
Speed
they
limits are the
have with
biggest.
regard to reproductive
Huh?
rights, it is
I
going to
dropped a
throw
frame for
out
a second there.
unbearably cruel and horrific stories on a weekly basis, if not more. And we've already it's only been a couple of weeks, and we've already experienced multiple of those.
Right, yeah. Not having Democrats do anything in the short term, and not really telling us what their plan is.
Got a
in the
lot of
long
trip
term
left in me,
either,
though.
if we reelect them during the midterms. That's not a winning strategy. I'm sorry, but everyday voters are not listening to what the Democratic Party is saying every day. And so unless, they actually take action, what people are looking to is them doing something in the meantime. There are a lot of things they can do. AOC's been a great advocate for all of the things they could do in the meantime. They could build abortion clinics on federal lands. They could try again to codify Roe v. Wade into law. They
Right.
could, establish
try it all.
networks so that women can get access to abortion pills via the mail in states where, abortion trigger laws have already gone into effect. But they're not really doing any of this, and instead we're getting a bunch of fundraising emails from Nancy Pelosi. This is not
Hello,
how we
what's
get
happening?
people to go out and show up to vote.
Yeah.
I think it's an effective strategy to say, like, hey, we're on the right side of this issue. But unless,
Guys, what are we
like you
doing?
said, you demonstrate that you're going to protect those values that you claim to have and protect those rights that are in line with your values, your voters aren't going to show up for you.
Yeah. Yeah, and it opens up a possibility right now. So, look, supposedly
It's
on
just a
Sunday,
car cutting off a
Vince
truck? I
Wilson,
could see
we're
that.
talking about, codifying the right to same-sex marriage in a little bit. Schumer is saying that he's, like, working behind the scenes trying to get some Republicans on board or whatever, and I get that's always the way that they're going to pursue this. And it might be on some issues, like trying to get the Senate.
Income 7,881. Driver Jan S.
Do that. And so
Nice.
that provides an opportunity. I know that Democrats find the idea of forcing the right to actually filibuster to be unacceptable. They love the filibuster more than we love anything, and yet they don't want people to have to filibuster when they filibuster. But think about if they were to force it right now, knowing what we know about support for reproductive rights, put it up for a vote, and if the
Okay.
right wants to filibuster it, then have them actually do that. Have them
Right.
actually
And then
hold the
exit
floor
right.
for an hour, and then a day, and then a week, and then the next 3 months if necessary.
Right.
Have it be indisputable, a constant reminder
Sizz
of how
good.
out of step with the majority of the country their right is. And honestly, do it because it's the right thing to do. But even if you don't have that in you, if you're so soulless in a
Please
political
pull in
sense,
for vehicle
then
inspection
do
at the
it for
nearest way
political
station.
pragmatism. Have the months between now and the midterm elections be that constant reminder, an indisputable reminder that the Republican Party doesn't give a damn about, I don't know, 150
I'm just gonna go where
million
these guys went.
Americans and what happens to them. But they're not going to do that. They're going to try to like wheel and deal behind the scenes.
Oh, I
If they
misunderstood.
can't make it happen. Maybe they'll put it up.
I was
for
thinking of
few
that like a
months.
stoplight, like it
It'll
was
be
green and then I go through it.
filibustered in that they will just shut it down, and then we'll move on, and that'll be it. They're just so.
Oh, I
bad
don't
at
even have to
political
slow down.
side.
I should have just kept going like they went.
It's been a long time since
Teach me.
Ted Cruz read me a bedtime story in 2013 when he was reading Green Eggs and Ham, when they actually had to filibuster, when they didn't want things to go to a vote, and they didn't want Obamacare to go to a vote, and so they had to get up on the mic and talk for hours and make fools of themselves. They did, and that's exactly what they should be forced to do right now. And I get nervous because it seems like every time they
Detail
have
control
close
through
to
the
a
rightmost
margin,
gate.
or they have a margin in the House and in the Senate, there are always conveniently the exact amount of votes they have the margin of people who are wavering on the issues of the substantive legislation that we're voting on. Right now it's Manchin and Sinema when we're talking about Build Back Better, and when we're talking about Roe v. Wade, we have people like Henry Cuellar. But it always feels like the Democrats are playing this game of maintaining the status quo and always ensuring that we have a few moderates that are willing, to not vote so that legislation doesn't pass.
Checking
Let's keep in
documents,
mind,
please.
people
Wait.
like Nancy Pelosi are benefiting from the status quo. She has a ton of money in stock right now, really teetering.
Everything is in order. Have a nice journey.
Every single day with the stock holdings of her and her husband. It's just
Straight
scary
ahead,
because they're
complete the
benefiting from
inspection
way things are.
process.
They don't have, a real inclination to make substantive change. That's really scary because even if we get those votes in the midterms, will anything happen?
Exactly. Yeah. The only thing I would add would be moderates.
Yeah.
Because stripping 150 million people of their rights is hardly moderate, but they will.
Stop at the
always-
mark and
the
stop the
media
engine.
will
Stop the
provide
engine.
them with the immense benefit of implying their position is.
I don't remember doing this.
Everyone else is a crazy ideologue.
There's a doggo.
The position they hold politically. That's the only.
Everything is alright, you may
thing.
continue.
By the way, before
Would I have gotten
talk
in
about
trouble
a
if I
couple
had
more
skipped
things
that?
about
Because
this,
that wasn't on my
so
map.
Caitlin Bernard, the doctor who performed this abortion, is I think understandably concerned about what can happen when you're demonized by the right over this. So last year, she testified in a case involving abortion restrictions in Indiana. She said that she was forced to stop providing first trimester abortions at a clinic in South Bend. She did that after she was alerted by Planned Parenthood that a kidnapping threat had been made against her daughter and relayed to the FBI.
What the fuck?
Again, the pro-life people were implying that they would kidnap and potentially murder her daughter. By the way, the names of 6 abortion providers, as well as their educational backgrounds and places of work, were listed on the website of a group, an anti-abortion group called Right to Life Michiana. In a section of the website titled Local Abortion Threat, her name was listed amongst other doctors there. And we know that the right
That's messed up.
periodically likes to threaten violence or bomb one of these clinics or try to burn them down or murder the doctors who are performing there. Again, the pro-life people like to murder these doctors. By the way, that particular group, Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett had ties to it. So isn't that fun? They got one of their own on the Supreme Court and accomplished their goals that way. Anyway, finally, on August 2nd, Kansas is going to be voting on a state constitutional amendment that would clarify that the state's Bill of Rights does not protect Kansans' right to an abortion. As it stands right now, the judicial interpretation is that it does. This will not outlaw abortion there, but it is a prerequisite for them to outlaw abortion there. So stay tuned in the next couple of weeks to find out what happens in Kansas as well.
I just don't understand Republicans' conception of how our government works and democracy in this case, because they're totally in favor of amending state constitutions. People, who are elected to public office there can make a reasonable determination of how they should change the state constitution. What if we were to ever think about doing that at the national level? Have the people who have been elected to represent the population there make substantive changes. It doesn't apply. So why is it that at the state level
Whoa,
this is
laggy.
an acceptable thing to do, but to have popular policy at the national level isn't? What is the mental disconnect that is happening there where that's okay?
I don't know. I mean, look, there's a bunch. So it's possible I'm forgetting things, but I'm trying to think of like an amendment to the Constitution that would be in their best interests. like that they would be a fan of it. I mean, look, they love to talk about the Second Amendment, but of course, when it was added, the clear text of it isn't anything like the way they understand it now, let alone expanding the vote and things like that. Yeah, generally, amending the Constitution has not worked well for the right. With that said, though, we do have to take the first break of the hour. Don't worry, we got a lot more coming up after this. Okay, let's see what you
On the Second Amendment situation, I always think about, well,
in the members' comments,
now that they
George
got rid of
Cat
Roe v.
says,
Wade,
love, love, love.
you can make
John
all kinds
and
of arguments about stuff not being settled law. So no matter how they interpret
I am Sock says,
the Second Amendment incorrectly, I would say,
Is that a thing that we do with host combos now?
it's
Jake and Anna.
nothing is settled law. If you can just
Jake and Anna?
decide that it's not law anymore.
Okay.
Banana.
Anyway.
So if you think
Shai
that people
Coltrane
shouldn't
says,
have guns,
"I hope Dr. Bernard takes
and you
this
think
clown
that should be
to the
codified into law, I mean, I don't.
By the way, the fact
I
that
don't know
this
what-
guy
I mean-
is trying to investigate her as Attorney General. Spare
I
the
mean,
money.
whatever,
We'll
you should
talk
fight for
about
it because
other
you could get it,
federal
is what I'm
attorneys general,
getting at.
As we close
It's
out.
not something I would fight for.
Lieutenant Mac McGee. It's been a bit since I was correct on the.
I mean, I do think everybody would
says,
be
"I
safer
really
if we
don't
didn't
know
have
what to do.
guns,
Obviously, the
but
First Amendment is so crucial to maintain our democracy, but Fox News is abusing its right to.
but that wouldn't be able to happen for like a generation, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, they put misinformation on. In theory, they can and have been sued for defamation and things like that. So
There's just too many guns in America. There's more guns in America than there are
be able
people.
to handle that. Anyway, eclectic miscellaneous, Little Mac McGee. Then why would you spell it out? Okay, I apologize. You are not, in fact, the lieutenant. Apologies. Eclectic says, white conservative males are demonizing doctors, women, and girls, non-whites, LGBTQ plus people. They attack and blame everyone except themselves. What a horrible combination of extreme public hubris and profound personal insecurity. Yeah, that sums it up pretty well, actually.
Yeah, that pretty
And
much did it.
thus That leads into, think about like who their heroes are in media. Think about whose books they buy, if not read. Think about the shows that they watch, the people who play into that sort of worldview. Okay, let's see. Over in Twitch, Metal Kitty Mom says, what's horrific is expecting a 10-year-old that has been raped to carry a baby to term, not an abortion, shaking my head. Exactly. You know, equally horrific is just not giving a damn. Like, thinking that,
I mean, yeah.
it's going to happen, whatever. I don't want to hear about it. It's inconvenient.
Care about other
whatever.
people, you know? I can't make you
And
care about
knowing
other
that
people,
if it
but you
happens to
should.
Someone in their family, if they want to have it dealt with, they can probably figure out some way. Anyway, Darth Hollister says that with a lot of Jessica emojis, says Jessica is on fire with all these appearances. She keeps bringing the house down every single time. Exactly. TRT is having to pay quite a bit in reassembly costs for the house after every one of her appearances. A week like this, where she's on pretty much every day, is pretty rough.
The fire
But
department
anyway.
now is working overtime.
Exactly. Government is important. Over on YouTube, we do have new members: Solange Gregory, Barry Drake, Mark and Julie as well. Thank you to all of you for joining up and being a part of our community. Over the super chat, R Stone says the right wing has become so unhinged that if a birth resulted in the death of the mother, they would press murder charges on the newborn child. Think about that one. Not sure how to think about on that. Matthias says
That sounds
"When they
right.
get people in power and shut us out, they will amend the Constitution to enshrine their religion and end liberty and justice for all." We'll see. Anyway, more to get to. Don't go anywhere. Be right back.
I mean, hopefully that
Chat
would be
right
the
now,
most
Sarah
triggering
says,
thing that
"John
was
has
in the
no
news,
idea the
YouTube, but
bomb
we'll
he
see.
threw into chat." And when I saw that, I thought, well, wait, I said many things in the social break. What do you mean? And then I saw I am Sock says Jank and Jessica equals Burjank. Omega Shenron Dragon says Doc and Adrian, Dr. Rodgerian Esquire. So there's a lot of combinations you can do. I'm a little bit worried about what's gonna happen. Anyway. Okay, with that, more news? What do you
More
think?
news.
More? Yeah, I guess we should give more. Okay, in that case, let's jump into this.
Oh,
were to
the
go-
homeless person's property is
Yes.
protected?
Yes, absolutely.
Huh.
If you were to go and try to move that or take that,
You'd
they-
get arrested.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Is that true?
Okay, apologies. We got a little mix up with the video. Do we have the intro to K-Block?
Go straight up.
Let's move on.
Oh, you see, John, you're outside enjoying the sunshine. It's not too hot, is it?
No, it's absolutely lovely. It's 20 degrees out here. It's perfect.
Okay, so what you're seeing is a little bit of video from the UK. An anchor named Bev Turner decided that simply watching the movie Don't Look Up wasn't good enough. We need to act it out in real life. So, in advance of what has become an absolutely devastating heat wave, just said, look, you look like you're not having that
Okay,
bad of
I think I should be
time
able to
in
make
the
it there.
specific spot you're sitting right now. So, is this really something that we should worry about? Well, that meteorologist feels like, yes, it is actually something we should worry about. So, take a look as they proceeded.
On a serious note, folks, by early next week, you can scrap 20 degrees. It could well be 40 degrees. I think there will be hundreds, if not thousands, of excess deaths early next week.
John.
The charts that I can see in front of me are frightening. So we all like nice weather, but this will not be nice
Oops.
weather. This will be potentially lethal weather for a couple of days. It'll be brief, but it'll be brutal.
Oh,
So,
John.
Turned off the cruise control by accident.
So, John, I want us to be happy about the weather and everything. I don't know whether something's happened to meteorologists to make you all a little bit fatalistic and harbingers of doom.
Gee, lady, I wonder what could have happened.
Broadcast, particularly on the BBC, every time I've turned on anyone's talking about the weather, they're saying that there's going to be tons of fatalities. But haven't we always had hot weather, John? I mean, wasn't the 76, the summer of 76, that was as hot as this, wasn't it?
No.
And no, indeed, it
He's just like, no.
You gotta love that. I mean, literally, like we're meant to be happy about the weather. Is it like an exact line out of Don't Look Up? Why is he a harbinger of doom? Because that's what he is here to harbinge. I'm sure he would love to harbinge all sorts of things, but he looks to the future and there's just doom. It's like when people criticize me for filling the damage report with negative news. You think I want to do this? I wake up and I look around. I harbinge what we produce, and so does he. And he predicted there 40 degrees, maybe from the point of view of Bev Turner.
hell?
That was
How'd that get over there?
really, come on, it's not gonna be that bad. No, temperatures in the UK breached 40 degrees Celsius. That's over 104 degrees Fahrenheit. For the first time ever on Tuesday. It is the hottest
What the
day
hell?
on record in the UK.
Oh, wait, is that on the other side of the
UK
road?
is not new. It's been around for a while. Now, she mentioned 1976, that summer where they had a heat wave. Well, we can actually compare temperature anomalies from 1975 to 1979 to compare. Look, you see some variation in
Hi, dude.
temperature. That's about 0 to +1 degrees Celsius, getting you from the white color to the yellow color. Now, if we jump ahead to 2021, you're going to see somewhat of a difference, Bev. It's not great right now. And by the way,
All right, let's rest.
Get
some gas.
The map there isn't supposed to be the hottest generally. That's supposed to be the part with the polar bears and everything. But no, it is bad. That is why meteorologists tend to be a bit pessimistic, because even their predictions, which you consider to be insane a week before they happen, end up, it's that bad. Record-breaking heat, not just in the UK. It's happened in Japan and China over the past
Driver
week or two
Sophie
as well.
made some
But
money.
Jessica, he's there to provide accurate information. He's there to get people ready for this. And then these hosts, these news actors, just won't allow it. They don't like to be depressed, I guess.
I'm not sure what their plan is. What do they think is going to happen? That they can keep lying about this until there's no need for news anymore because everyone is fighting each other for clean water and shelter? Like, it's really insane to me that these people
2 in the
do this
morning.
every single day, and they're just okay with saying this on national television. And actually, this news channel is being held accountable, which is like the 1 ounce of good news in this story. So Great Britain News, GB News, where this interview happened on, they're owned by another Australian very wealthy person, kind of like Rupert Murdoch, but their name is Angelos, and it's a Greek Australian person. But he's under hot water right now with the public. They started this campaign, Stop Funding Hate, and it's because he allows climate deniers on the news channel. He allows people to go on and say terrible things about transgender people. There's rampant racism on the news channel. And so they said, we want the advertisers to pull out. If you're an advertiser, we will boycott you unless you boycott GB News. And so 15 of their biggest advertisers have pulled out in the first 4 days of that boycott. So that's a piece of good news in all of this.
That does sound good.
Yeah, no, actual consequences. I mean,
Get
look,
ready
what
to
she
turn
said
right.
wasn't, it's, unacceptable. Like, you should, if you're going to be broadcasting to so many people, you should understand a little bit of what the climate conversation is
Turn
about. But, it wouldn't even hit like the top 20 worst things said on Fox in a given day, and they can say whatever they want, and there's no consequences whatsoever. So, very different countries in two ways. One, they have consequences for saying insane things, and also their country is on fire right now. Anyway, it is really bad. I want to give people a little bit more of what that meteorologist had to say, this time I believe focusing on extreme weather events.
We are seeing more and more records, more and more frequently, and more severe. So yeah, some people always hark back to the summer of '76, which was a freak event 40 odd years ago, over 40 years ago. But heat waves are becoming more extreme. This is yet another one which is coming down the tracks towards us. And, I don't think we should be too light-hearted about the fact that many are going to die early next week because of the heat. 40 degrees, the sort of temperature that this country, I'm afraid, is just not geared up to cope with. And all the computer models are now in pretty much agreement that it is going to happen.
And that is true. They were not capable of dealing with that. The literal infrastructure in terms of railroads, bridges, the airports, they can't deal with this level of heat. And in fact, many people did die. Now, not
In the hottest
specifically
part of
close
summer
enough
each
for
year,
Better or not try to score points
for the
off
past
this.
few
She ended up
years,
going on Twitter
for a
saying,
day or
"What's
two,
wrong about UK
it has
now
gotten
being geared up for
so
health?
hot
Trains, buses canceled, businesses
in
closed, school told people to stay home."
Nevada
But we
And
did
then
not
exit
see
right.
hundreds or thousands
that
dead. We did not. Which
they couldn't-
is true.
that
Yes, people died. Not hundreds of
flights were
thousands, that is
canceled.
true.
And if
Except
you're wondering how that
thousands
works,
did die
about it being
just,
too
like,
hot for flights
over
to take
the
off,
channel in Europe.
it's because
Very
once
close
the
by.
air
And,
is
you
so
know, I mean, maybe
active
the
from
fact it
heat
happened
because
there,
the
not really
molecules are
maybe
moving
it'll
so
never
much,
happen there.
it's
But
too
this
thin
is,
to get
I think,
lift
a
under
learning
airplane
opportunity.
wings.
If you have
So
to,
planes
as
can't
has
take
been
off
reported,
or land
wrap
safely.
bridges in
They just can't
foil
fly.
so that
It's
they
just
won't
not the right
crack.
amount of...
Maybe you
I'm gonna
should
hit something.
start to worry. If the country isn't capable of dealing with this heat, a country like the UK that has, I think I read 3%.
Uh-oh,
of
is
the
that a
homes
caution
have air
thing? What am I
conditioning,
doing?
maybe this is something to prioritize. Maybe what people need is not you to put a smiley face on the heat wave, but to put pressure on politicians to do something about it.
That's where I would
And
have
get it,
stopped.
glass houses. I live in the U.S. and we've got, Joe Manchin and everything. But I don't know, Jessica. I feel like the need to double down when
never been
you've
on this road
proven
before.
to be
Nice.
wrong is just, it's all too common.
Yeah, I don't understand what is going through these people's minds. Like I said, how can you expect to just report the news like the heat wave is this great time with tropical
Debrecen,
weather for people to
Budapest.
enjoy and go to the beach
Budapest?
and it's sunny and isn't that great? You look like you're having a great time out in the sun. He was so polite about
Am I going the right way?
Actually, we can't be too lighthearted about this because it is very serious and we haven't seen temperatures as hot as these. I mean, just listen to what this expert is saying that's on the news channel and maybe go back and do some research afterwards and say like, okay, like thanks for your
Could have
time,
used a
thanks
little
for
bit
coming
more
on.
warning that.
But doubling down is just incredibly unhinged, and it goes to show that
Am I
this
going the right
news
way?
network is playing the role of Fox
Did I put down
News
an
in the
extra
UK
click
a little
somewhere?
bit, but not nearly as bad, like you said, John. And they are already boycotting the advertisers, or forcing the boycotters, or forcing the advertisers to boycott the news channel.
Yes.
And not advertise.
Oh,
on there.
cool. I've never
You
driven up
can't
any
just
of this
have Fox
road,
on
so it's
TV.
all new
Fox News.
content for
Rupert
me.
Murdoch,
Nice.
is an owner of Genie Energy Company, and they regularly have climate deniers on that news channel. But
4X is that
in the
way?
UK, they get
Budapest is this
one
way?
hint of it, a fraction of what we see on Fox News, and they're all revolting. I
I've
think
not been to
just the
Budapest?
comparison there is pretty interesting. In the US, we're much more tolerant of misinformation and hate.
100%. I do agree with you. Quite revolting, though. Yeah. So, I mean, so many
Okay.
people died, and look, even after this, now we fast forward to we've seen the deaths, people literally dropping dead in the street, old people dying by the hundreds because the human body can't tolerate the conditions we're forcing it to go through. Wildfires all over Spain and Portugal, wildfires everywhere. Today, she tweets, "I'm on GB News, and I'm angry at all this heat hyperbole." It's still hyperbole. The guy was proven right. It happened. Like 1,100 people died in just a couple countries, let alone all of what else is going on around the world. But no, just double down. Why would you ever admit that you're wrong. Oh, by the way, I looked into her Twitter account. She's an anti-vaxxer. Oh, sorry, a skeptic. She's a vaccine skeptic and just wants to have a conversation. Look,
So she's an idiot.
As we've been saying, it might not be as bad as the version of her that exists on Fox News here, but it's the same sort of personality type. And being willing to admit when you're wrong, even when you being wrong contributes to untold human suffering, is just not a part of that type.
Casa Cois.
Unfortunately, oh, continue, sorry.
Just that his response.
Did you get in front of me and slow down?
I can't be
Like a jerk?
about this because people will die. That says it all right there.
Yeah. Yeah, and in terms of what they'll do long term, look, they have been evolving. You know, they used to deny that it was even happening. You saw a bit of that there. Then they moved to, okay, so things are heating up, but it's like natural cycles of the sun's corona or whatever. Then they finally admit that no, that's not actually it. It's us. And then they go to having to be too expensive to do anything about it. Or is the onus really on us? Would we be able to do anything? Look, eventually it's going to be even more indisputable. And by that, I don't mean that conditions are going to get bad enough. They're bad enough right now. It's just not tenable. If you look at the youngest Republicans right now, polls asking them about what the federal government should do in regard to climate change, they're like
Income
30
driver
points more
Simon L.
supportive of doing more to combat climate change than the oldest Republicans. My issue is going to be that within 10 or 20 years, they are going to be on a daily basis using these horrific extreme weather events and the generalized inability of our society to function to push.
I might be playing Ark tomorrow.
Like, if you think that they're anti-migrant, if they're xenophobic,
We'll see how it's
wait
doing in the
until
poll.
Resource wars are sending tens of millions of people streaming.
It is
across
currently in
all
second
national
place.
boundaries. It is going to get real dark, and climate change is going to be a big part of that.
But John,
Now,
if
sorry.
we do something about climate change, our good air is just going to go to China and then we're going to get their bad air. So we can't do anything about climate change. Don't be ridiculous. If you missed it, I'm referencing Herschel Walker's speech recently where he said precisely that.
100%. He's going to be a senator.
That is a real thing that somebody
Has a
said.
Bad air theory. Fuck. I think he's been breathing bad air. There's got to be some explanation.
I think
Anyway.
all the football and the helmet, the brand stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, with that said, why don't we jump into...
This is going to be a
next story.
long trip.
The man you're seeing there could be the next Attorney General of Maryland. He is also, by the way, a neo-Confederate white nationalist. Isn't that fun? His name is Michael Peroutka. He's a former county council member, and he beat his opponent, Jim Shelek, a former state and federal prosecutor. Now, in
Wait, he
November,
won?
he's gonna go up against a Democrat. That's going to be, in this case, Anthony
Oh.
Brown. So who is he? Well, until 2014, he served on the board of League of the South, which, just on name alone, you probably get a bit of an idea of what they're all about. A
Uh-huh.
group which for years has explicitly called for the southern states to secede from the United States. At times, its rationale was explicitly racist. Its website at one point called for secession to save the South's Anglo-Celtic culture against cultural genocide from political correctness and immigration.
Anglo-Celtic?
The League is 100% against the federal government and northern and coastal states. They say they're part of a materialist and anti-religious society that they call the Empire. In recent years, it has increasingly embraced violence, criticized perceived Jewish power, and warned black people that they would be defeated in a future race war. It's so interesting that coming out of a cultural tradition of the Confederacy, that you'd be that eager for another war that you've proven historically to be ill-equipped for, but that's what they're going with.
I did not slow down
Anyway,
properly for
this
that.
individual, this guy Michael, says he's still angry that Maryland was blocked from seceding during the Civil War. He believes lawmakers should take a biblical worldview and apply it to civil law and government. And up until this point, he has refused to disavow the League of the South. He left the group a few years ago, but he won't actually denounce them now. And think about how weird it is to hold a grudge about the fact that Maryland wasn't allowed to secede during the Civil War, so they would have an opportunity to be on the losing side. That's a weird hill to die on, as so many of his ideological compatriots did during the Civil War. Jessica, what do you think?
Yeah, I think
Die on
this
hills?
is exactly like you said during election coverage not too long ago. I think it was last month, where you talked about the death of democracy and how it's not going to be some cataclysmic event. It's not going to be dramatic. It's going to be slow. Slowly we'll lose our voice. Our rights will be taken away. I think our descent into fascism is going similarly.
Was
where
that a new country?
Republicans who are neo-fascists are getting elected to public office at the local level in certain races where people aren't really looking at, and one day we're going to wake up and such a significant proportion of our elected officials are going to be this brand of white Christian neo-fascists who hold on to the ideals of the Confederacy. And it's very scary because the Democrats aren't acting like this is happening. Yes, the insurrection was a big flux event, but also we saw Donald Trump quietly appoint a lot of judges to the courts that are now going to rule in favor of them in many cases. The slow churn of overturning Roe v. Wade was a decades-long effort. And so I think it's exactly like you said about the death of democracy not too long ago.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one office at a time. And, we were talking about the Attorney General of Indiana going after a doctor for doing her legal and ethical obligation in helping that 10-year-old who had been raped to get the abortion that she so desperately needed. These are the offices that they're taking over. They're taking over school boards. They're taking over state secretaries of individual states and attorney generals as well. This guy thinks public education is a communist plot. Again, a core part of fascism. You're not supposed to be curious. You're not supposed to learn.
Right.
Says laws protecting abortion and gay marriage are illegal and unenforceable because they violate God's law, and called the concept of the separation of church and state a great law. And I think that the stakes of a guy like this believing that are pretty clear, but I want to remind people of what the Attorney General is supposed to do. They're the chief legal officer of the state. They're supposed to deal with what is legal, and he believes what is legal is whatever I, in my deranged state, think the creator of the universe would want, based on my misreading of the Bible. So, damn your state laws and your state constitution, damn the U.S. Constitution or federal law. I don't even think the federal government should exist. It's the empire. I'm going to do whatever I think God thinks. And he will be in charge. He will be able to act on that. And I'm not like Maryland, Maryland isn't California, but it's not Mississippi. Like, he is not going to be reflective whatsoever of the population there, but he could possibly win. This is the danger, by the way, of the Democrats, Biden as their leader, and the rest of the Democrats accomplishing so little. This guy should have no chance whatsoever in a normal election, and maybe in the end he'll lose by 40 points. But do you really want to roll the dice on this? Do you really want to have these be needlessly closer than they would otherwise be? And action produces these sorts of things.
I don't know. He's making communism sound pretty good. Sounds like having any functioning government at all is communism, according to these guys. They've done a really effective job.
Well, that was scary.
Making it seem like any public good deliverance by our government is communism. And that's terrifying because there are still so many voters who grew up during the Cold War era where they were like, communism is awful. And so if you say it's communism, it must be this awful thing. He's literally just talking about public education. Do you want to pay taxes in to a pool of resources and have those dollars go to fund schools that your children can go to and everyone in the neighborhood puts in their dollars?
Okay, how far away do I need to make a
I
turn?
mean, we're really going to go back to the founding days of our country where neighborhoods have to
Not for a while,
reinvent
so I'm okay in
schools
this lane
where
for the
all
moment.
parents in the neighborhood pool their resources to develop public schools. They're really pushing us to reinvent the wheel and just get rid of all government. Having any government at all is communism, and we shouldn't do it.
As a truck, pretty sure I'm
Instead,
supposed to hang
we're
out in the
gonna
right
live
lane
in a
now.
Christian corporate police state,
Yep.
and that will be the United States.
Well, we're going to take a short break and take a look at what you have all been saying about our descent into that corporate police state, but we'll be back in just a few. Welcome to the Social Break, everyone, with me and with Jessica. Let's see what's going on out there. A couple of programming reminders. Starting off the day, the ever-increasing full day of TYT programming, the watch list goes live right before the damage report, 1 hour with Jared Jackson and his awesome guests. Most recently,
I'm gonna get over.
Jessica was the guest, actually, so everyone should be tuning into that. Also, coming up after our program today at twitch.tv/TYT, you've got Happy Half Hour hosted by Brett Ehrlich. That goes live at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time. Good news and good news. Should be a lot of fun. Let's see what's going on with all of you. Gabby in the member comments. Hey, Gabby says this planet is allergic to humans. Exactly. Except that we're stimulating the allergic response. It would be perfectly fine. We're the ones messing with it constantly.
Yep.
I wish Dragon Wood says, by the way, I love that name. Says, John, you've been kind of harbingy lately. I know. I've descended into that. Luby says, the news actors plan for the future. Yell the news. Only good news allowed. Yeah, and by the way, good news is a part of things. Like, sometimes you need it. There's a reason people loved that show that Jim from The Office did during the beginning of the pandemic. But, you know, they were doing like an actual news show, and they brought on a meteorologist to talk about the weather on the eve of a heat wave. Dude's got to talk about the heat wave. You can't talk about the fact that, like, if you have a fan on you, you'll be nice. I don't know. Skittlebutt Dragon Rasp says that Jim stole you.
Seems very tight.
Wait, was it stolen from something specific? Or are you saying that it was stolen from Happy Half Hour, actually? I think that might be what's being said there. Anyway, Chicago Ganai says that a few days ago in Tokyo, we had 7,000 hospital admissions for heat exhaustion and stroke. Yeah. No, none of the infrastructure is ready. They're like, it's going to get hotter and hotter and hotter. The heat waves stretch longer and longer, and they are going to expect everyone to do the same work that they always did in places that aren't equipped for it, that are already too hot, out and about working directly in the sun. Workers are going to bear the brunt of this. It's indisputable. Anyway, I think in the UK they're discussing, I don't know if you saw this, Jessica, a too hot to work bill. Like,
Too hot to work bill?
Need that.
Yeah, I mean, when the plane tarmac is melting because it's
Yeah,
too hot,
plane tarmac's
the
melting,
infrastructure
that
can't even
too.
withstand it. It's going to be dangerous for people traveling to work.
Exactly. Okay, let's
People
see.
getting third-degree
Extra
burns walking
Reddit
on
Twitch
the
comments. Why is it every time I turn
sidewalk.
on the TV, scientists are telling me things I don't want to hear. Yeah. As if people are bombarded by the knowledge accrued by scientists. That's hardly a problem of modern TV. Anyway, with that said, more news. Don't go anywhere.
What is... Oh no.
Okay, so I'm looking at the comments, and I see this comment from Occam's Taser. It says, I think Jessica is just janking
I was
the
supposed to
Jessica
slow down
mask
for
on
that
to make it look
construction
like he is taking
location.
time off. I don't think so. You'll notice that Jessica hasn't once screamed at the top of her lungs, and I don't think that she's done an accent yet, as like some sort of like British royal or anything.
I'm going to go, of course.
Of course. You haven't dropped anything? I don't know. The evidence just isn't there. But with that said, we do have news to get to. Perhaps she'll go on an epic screamy rant in this. Let's jump into this one.
I want to make sure that my husband Phil can visit me in the hospital should I have to go back again, like when I had a triple bypass a few years ago. I want to make sure my husband
That voice
has
sounds familiar.
my earned benefits for retirement and Social Security. I want to make sure that my husband is taken care of just like your spouses are taken care of. If I was the entity on the other side of the aisle, I'd be more concerned when my own members accuse it of having cocaine-fueled orgies than worrying about the morality of my marriage. I yield back.
Now, people understandably get fired up over the issue of marriage equality, and Mark Pocan is no exception. Yeah, if on your side of the aisle, members of your own caucus are talking about your drug-fueled orgies, maybe get a lockdown on that situation before you try
Where
to
am I going?
stop the LGBTQ plus community from having access
What
to the
nation
same
was
rights
that?
other people have. Thankfully, Mark Pocan's side won, and last night the House passed legislation that would repeal the Defense of Marriage Act and enshrine marriage equality into federal law. Notably, the House did that. We're not yet at the point where the Senate has taken it up, yet alone voted on it. We will return to that in a bit. I do want to talk, though, about the nature of the vote. It was 267 to 157, okay? Which means that most Republicans voted against it. Also, the only people who voted against it were Republicans, but I believe 47 House Republicans joined the Democrats, which, as I mentioned, enshrines marriage equality. Also, by the way, codifies the right to interracial marriage. So to some of you Republicans, don't get any wise ideas we got out in front of you on this one. But anyway, 47 Republicans joined the Democrats. And yeah, it's a minority of their party, Jessica. But you certainly wouldn't have expected that even just a few years ago. What do you think?
I honestly would not have expected this a few years ago. The far right in the United States has been emboldened, and it's about a lot more than just marriage equality, because these people have been elected by communities that are okay with them being completely against gay marriage. They want to oppress people who are members of the LGBTQ plus community. And so, sure, they're going to cast this vote against gay marriage, but of course, it's going to pass anyway, regardless of how they voted. But it just signals as to what life is like for members of the LGBTQ
Whoa,
communities
okay,
in those
laggy.
districts that those representatives are coming from. It's a very hostile environment for them in the United States today, and it's terrifying that in 2022 we are fighting for the same rights that we have been fighting for
What happened? Did I
decades.
approach water?
It's
Yeah.
insane.
They're fighting.
I don't see any
fighting
water.
again. Like, we're used to continuing to struggle to achieve the same thing we've been struggling for. Like, you know, because we never had.
Come on,
single
Car,
payer
can you get
healthcare
past
or
me?
whatever.
There
It's
you
when
go.
You have to do it again that it almost hurts worse. Like knowing that you can legalize same-sex
That's a
marriage
speeding
and then,
ticket.
oh, they might be coming for that actually. In the same way with Roe v. Wade, or you can outlaw assault weapons and then, oh God, they bring it back. And it's that double dipping. Like, some things shouldn't be rebooted, and the destruction of people's rights, I think I would include in that. But yeah, 47, I wouldn't have expected a few years ago. I'm going to be completely honest. I wouldn't have expected it right now. I am actually shocked that so many Republicans would do this, not only because, you know, the whole Republican thing and they're awful, but also, like, what is the right been campaigning on for the past year and a half?
turn left.
Like, sure, it's not all homophobia and transphobia. They've also had their whole CRT thing. There's a lot of racism in there, and there's quite a bit of misogyny, let's be clear. But there's so much of a focus on the daily demonization of not just segments of the LGBTQ plus community, but individuals from it. Like, Libs of TikTok is the most popular thing on the right because they want an endless stream of third-grade lesbian teachers that they can personally attack. And so with that as the backdrop, having several dozen Republicans being willing to vote for this is actually pretty surprising. But that said, we've been talking about the history of this. I want to give people that history because if you've started paying attention to politics in the last few years, you may not know how fast this has moved, even on the Democratic side. Just a decade ago, Joe Biden got castigated for announcing his support for gay marriage before Obama, who at that point was the sitting president, had done his own. Because
Right.
we need to be clear, Obama didn't come out in support of gay marriage until 2012, 10 years ago. That was just a couple of years before Donald Trump, you know, slid down that escalator. It took a long time. And a decade before that, Biden himself helped pass the Defense of Marriage Act in the Senate. 116
Okay.
Democrats supported it in the House. Nearly as many Republicans as opposed the codification of marriage equality did now. That is about as big of a shift on an issue of national import that I think that we've seen. I don't know what else. I don't know, Jessica, if you can come up with anything else, but that's about the biggest.
Yeah, it's a big shift, and it's the product of a lot of protesting and a lot of rioting. Like, people forget that Stonewall was a riot. This is something that people were fighting for in the streets for a very long time. And I think in the United States we tend to, I don't know, turn our presidents into deities. Like, Obama gave us, gay marriage became legal under the Obama administration, and so we make him the hero. But Joe Biden came out for gay marriage before him. And also, all of those people that were in the streets, all of those people that were injured and lost their lives fighting for gay rights are the people who got us to this point. And so we can't really make a deity of Barack Obama and be like, he got us these rights, because that's really not what the history shows. And so, again, to protect these rights, it's probably going to have to be the same thing. It's going to have to
You
be
just
people
decide
in the
not to pass
streets
me? What's going
protect
on?
those districts where we still have elected officials, governing on behalf of the far right who doesn't want us to enjoy our rights. And that is very scary. It's almost like they say change should be a slow crawl, but instead it's a few steps forward and many steps back. And these days it kind of feels like Sisyphus rolling the big rock up the hill, and then it rolls all the way back down, and then we have to start over again.
How long
Yeah.
until...
You can tell the different, I guess, education backgrounds of us. She made the Sisyphus reference, and I was going to reference Paula Abdul. But anyway, yes, it is in one form or another 2 steps forward, 1 step back. In any event, that was the House. We still need the Senate to actually pass it. Is that going to happen? I don't know. More than 20 GOP senators declined to stake out positions on the issue when an Axios reporter asked them about it. Marco Rubio said he's
trying to figure out if I
he
need to
called
get
it
the
a
next
stupid waste of
rest
time,
area, if I can go to the one
which
after
is
it.
fun for his many LGBTQ plus constituents. That it's a stupid, your rights are a stupid waste of time. Not a stupid waste of time, so I guess we'll just do it, get it over with. A stupid waste of time that I will block at all costs. I will filibuster it for weeks. That's how much of a stupid waste of time it is to him. By the way, marriage equality polls at 68% in Florida. You know what that is for Marco Rubio? A liability. And so if you're Chuck Schumer, again, as we were talking about earlier in the show, why not make them filibuster this? Marriage equality nationally is at 71%. It is bad for a politician to stand against something so overwhelmingly positive. And it's not just him, by the way. David Dan tweeted out, in Wisconsin, it's 73 to 26. Ron Johnson would vote no. Make him filibuster it. He's up for re-election. Do you want to defeat him or don't you? So whether you force the filibuster to show how much you prioritize these rights and how you will defend these communities, do it for that reason. But if you can't do it for that reason, do it to take out Ron Johnson. Do it to take out Marco Rubio. These are competitive races, and so whether it's, whichever it is, Dr. Oz, make him take a stand on this. Get out there and actually show people that these are issues you care about.
Yeah, the fact that they care so much about gay marriage is honestly just
I'm gonna guess that's slowing down.
As a member of the queer community, it's like, why would the Party of Freedom, the party that wants everyone to exercise their rights,
Okay.
and
I think I'm cool to drive past.
especially the libertarians,
We'll get the next
it's
one.
Usually people on the far
Well,
right
actually,
who have
let's double check that.
extreme
How far
views
away is the next one?
who are against gay marriage, the same
It's in a major
people
city.
who talk about how important it is to have freedoms in our country. It is insane to me. This is the most intimate aspects of someone's life. And really, at the end of the day, all it's about is these people don't look like me, they don't abide by the same traditions as me, and therefore I reject their way of life, and I don't want them to be able to practice it in the same country as me, because I value my privilege so much that I don't even want to look at it.
Yeah, 100%. Do we have time, Shwaria? What do you think? Quickly? I think so. It'll be fun. We need fun. Come on. Let
We
me be
need
like
fun.
the
Can we
youth
have fun?
reporter. Why
Please
can't
have fun.
The news be happy sometimes? Okay, let's talk about this then. John Fetterman has been absolutely destroying Dr. Oz when it comes to the war of the memes. Just shredding him in social media, making him look like a laughing stock. Now, he's getting an assist by the fact that Dr. Oz loves to do that himself. He loves to be humiliated. It's a kink, don't shame it. But anyway, in response to this, Dr. Oz has decided, you know what? I can meme too. Take a load at this, Fetterman. And so he tweeted out, Bernie Sanders and John Fetterman, even they can't tell themselves apart. His Bernie Sanders would end the filibuster, and so would John Fetterman. Burn.
What?
Ooh. Call the burn the trauma ward for that.
You got him.
First of all, exactly. You posted it on Twitter, where Bernie Sanders, kind of popular, generally. Second of all, you know what's not popular right now? I would argue filibuster. Like, I think that people want politicians who are, like, this is doing, work for Fetterman. I think people should know that he would vote to get rid of the filibuster, so that's what you've got.
Lublin.
That's all he has. I mean, look, by the way, Nina Turner ratioed him by just asking, okay? I love that. Nina Turner.
So good.
Oh my God, this guy loves being humiliated. So then he tweeted out this. I guess, like, the Spider-Man thing's not good enough. He wants to make sure that you know that Fetterman and Bernie Sanders are best friends. But, like, what point are you even making here? I don't know, but he got ratioed again. This time by John Fetterman, who responded with this. Graphic design is my passion. That's terrible. I mean, Jessica, you're one of the youths. You speak meme. Why can't Oz get it together in this area?
It's a great question. I think fundamentally the right cannot meme. I don't know if he's running that account. I want to know who is running that account. Is it an intern? Is it Dr. Oz on his phone just like asking family members like, can you help me make a meme? It's like the Wizard of Oz, and behind the curtain is just like a dude who can't meme. I don't know who's behind the curtain of the Dr. Oz Twitter account, but it's someone who cannot meme.
Yeah, if the analogy is about memes, then behind the curtain is the dog with the goggles trying to do science, but he's ill-equipped for this task. Anyway, by the way, Jason Selvig, who's been on the network before, he posted this. I got my picture taken with a tourist who is visiting Pennsylvania. I love the New Jersey stuff for him. He can't run away from it. Here's the thing, though. This is all fun and games with the memes, but the state of the race for Dr. Oz, not going so well. His Q2 fundraising numbers are in, and let's see. Fetterman ended up having $5.5 million in his campaign account, He raised $11 million in that one quarter over the same period of time.
Can I push
So
that a
got
little
$11
further?
million from Fetterman. Oz
No, I
raised
really should. I really
$1.7
should hit
million.
that
Now,
one.
he lent his campaign $3.2 million. He's overall lent it more than $14 million. He is having to drain his own bank account just to try to reach parity with Fetterman, who's raising money from regular people. It turns out that people in Pennsylvania will donate to politicians who actually live there. But anyway, this is not a thing of just Fetterman and Oz. It's apparently actually being replicated around the country when you look at small dollar donors. In the 10 most competitive Senate races, the Democrats are outraising the Republicans by more than $75 million. Only one in those top 10 is beating his Democratic competition. That is Ron Johnson. But at least in that case, it's narrow.
Right.
When you look at some of these
And then
others,
turn
it ain't
right.
narrow at all. Mark Kelly has raised $23 million. His
Turn
three
right.
potential GOP challengers together have brought in $2 million. And then when you look at Georgia, Herschel Walker has raised $8 million. That's just something that merits thinking about for a long time. But Raphael Warnock has raised $14
Okay, so I'm going in there.
Marco Rubio's raised 12.7, but his Democratic challenger Val Demings has nearly doubled that in small dollar donations.
Forget Europe
So,
has the yellow light
you know,
before the
there's
green.
a lot of things that the Democrats are doing wrong, but in terms of being able to fundraise or at least getting support from people, Jessica, so far they're doing a pretty job there.
Yeah, I mean, they have so much money, they can't hire an intern who's a Gen Zer who can just make some memes, man. They're not using their money very well. I don't know. But yeah, it's concerning. I do think that, you know, what wins races is advertisements, unfortunately, and that's what a lot of the money goes to in big dollar campaigns, mailers, things like that. But I do know that John Fetterman is getting a decent amount of phone bankers
Creatively
from
can't
people
afford-
who
oh.
see these memes
Oh,
on the internet.
foolish me.
I've seen people who said, I went to a John Fetterman phone bank after seeing these memes. And so hopefully that bolsters their grassroots effort, because we have to believe that organized people can beat organized money. I would like to believe
Whoops.
that, and let's hope that's the case. And these people don't get in office, but we do know that you can buy elections in the United States. It's happened before, and it
Well,
will happen again.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, 100%. We will be watching. For now, though, that's the end of the first hour. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, Jessica's going to be taking the reins after this.
Not sure what I bumped. But I seem to be okay. Let's see here. This is real world time?
Get ready to turn.
Okay, we're good on real world time.
Turn right.
Well, at least I can maybe pick up that garage later. I think I can just buy them from the map now. So I maybe could actually do it during this run.
Keep right, and then turn right.
Hotel. Can I just drive through? No, I can't. Alright, well. Um, 8 hours from now would be when? We're going on real time, so it'll make it just morning. Okay, for anybody who is watching sometime later on YouTube, I would like to thank you for watching. This has been Euro Truck Simulator 2, presented by Improvision Entertainment. I've been Hunter Munn, and I will see you as we continue this journey next time. Later.